With a seemingly endless sea of lights before her, the girl stood at the beach, her arms desperately outstretched. She ran towards the illuminations, but the more effort she put into running, the more distant the lights seemed to grow, just as they became so small that they were about to disappear. The girl's body suddenly jolted up, startling the little kingfisher dozing on the nightstand beside her mattress. "Bailito, Fu! You have to stop scaring me like that," chirped the bird. "Or else one of these days, all my feathers will fall off." As soon as she heard those words, a frown appeared on the girl's face. In a hurry, the kingfisher apologized. "Sorry, I really need to stop using that phrase. Was it that dream again?" In response, she only nodded. At a loss for words, the bird remained silent for a while as well, but eventually decided to change the awkward atmosphere that had enveloped the room. "Come on, get dressed and let's go out." The girl's name was Fuyumi. At a glance, you might find her a bit unusual due to her blue hair with some touches of orange, but that was hardly the only peculiar thing about her. While she certainly looked like a human girl, she was in fact a kingfisher. And not just any common kingfisher either. She was a direct descendant of Alcyon and Sakes, the Adam and Eve of a special kingfisher race. Except that they hadn't been chased out of paradise. The little bird at her side was her brother, who had decided to accompany her to the human world. Although not being his actual name, he was usually referred to as Bau-kun, an abbreviation of a certain human trait he was so crazy about that it became his nickname. Right now, the two of them were searching for a way for Fuyumi to transform back into a kingfisher so she could return home. When they came to the human world, Fuyumi had found a magical necklace that transformed her into a human. But since she was unfamiliar with the process, she messed up and caused most of her feathers to scatter all over the world, along with the necklace's magical energy that was flowing through them at the time. With barely any of it left, the golden accessory currently adorning her neck was little more than a pretty necklace. "So, where should we head today?" asked Fuyumi while wobbling through the door outside. She was quickly adapting to a human body, but sometimes she still had trouble with basic things like steady walking. "If you're up for it, we could start looking in the city again," tweeted Bau-kun, who fluttered beside her. "The city, huh? Well, we can't keep avoiding humans. Who knows where all your feathers could have gone? But I reckon a lot must be at places where lots of humans are too, considering how many places they've occupied in this world." Fuyumi let out a long sigh. "I know. It's just that I'm still a bit anxious. Saka has helped me out tremendously, but I'm still not sure if I'll do anything strange." "It'll be fine. Look at how many humans there are in this world. Surely a lot of them do stupid stuff all the time, going by our folks back in paradise." The girl sighed again. This time though, because of what a bad comparison her brother was making. Still, it was so silly that it managed to cheer her up slightly. "Alright, let's do this." Different from the beachside, where Fuyumi and Bau-kun currently resided, the city was bustling with all kinds of humans. While she had initially avoided the city due to her fear of standing out, Fuyumi quickly learned that most people barely bothered to even look at her. Sure, from time to time, there would be a few people glancing her way, but seeing how different humans looked, she felt a relief that calmed her enough to not freak out. Going by hair colors alone, she was amazed at how much variance there was among humans. Without any clear idea of what to do, the unusual pair of siblings roamed the streets and aimlessly wandered around. Once they reached the inner city with its many shops and eateries though, Fuyumi's curiosity got the better of her, and her goal of looking for her lost feathers quickly turned into a window shopping tour for all these amazing human things completely new to her. There were tons of things to be amazed by, be it soft, cute imitations of various animals, devices with moving pictures and sound, or the impressive variety of human fashion. At first, Bau-kun would regularly reprimand her, but upon seeing her excitement, he eventually stopped nagging and instead gave her free rein. When he noticed that the sun had started to set, part of him was disappointed that they still had not made any progress so far, but another part was glad to see his sister in high spirits. Mentally already calling it a day, Bau-kun had gotten comfortable on Fuyumi's shoulder and started to doze off when he heard her whisper, "Hey look, I wonder what's up with that shop there." Opening his eyes, he could see Fuyumi's finger pointing towards a small building. That shop? What of it? Its single display window didn't contain any items, and if it wasn't for the open sign on the door, he would have mistaken it for being closed. Look at how bustling full each of the other shops are, but this one seems to have no customers at all. Nobody's even looking at it, pointed Fuyumi out. Bau-kun rolled his eyes. That's because it's boring, Fu. Even I can see that. Clearly ignoring his remark, Fuyumi stepped into the shop while her brother rolled his eyes once again. Befitting of the shop's exterior appearance, its interior seemed plain as well. In fact, the room Fuyumi and Bau-kun found themselves in hardly had anything in it. The only thing somewhat worthy of notice was a wooden counter with a single bell. Pondering whether or not to ring the bell, Fuyumi stood in front of it for a few moments while Bau-kun continued to chirp. "Come on, Fu, there's nothing here. Let's leave." However, Fuyumi didn't budge even a bit. Ever since she had laid her eyes on the shop, she had this strange feeling she couldn't quite figure out. Eventually, she just stopped thinking and pressed the bell. Startled, her brother flapped his wings and screeched, "Pailito, what are you doing?" I wonder if it's broken," murmured Fuyumi while curiously eyeing the bell. No sounds coming out. "Well, that's none of our business, so let's get out before..." "Yeah, Fu, stop it!" Without a care in the world, Fuyumi had started to repeatedly hammer on the bell, but no matter how many times she did so, it did not ring. Just as she was about to give up, an annoyed voice shouted at them, I get it. Now stop ringing the damn thing, or do you want to bust my ears?" As if appearing out of thin air, a door behind the counter opened and revealed a messily clothed woman with deep blue hair. Letting out a big yawn, she took a seat on a chair behind the counter that Fuyumi could swear had not been there a moment before. "I wasn't expecting any customers today, but here you are. So, state your business," ordered the woman while resting her head propped up on her right hand. Dumbfounded, Fuyumi simply stood there while 1,000 questions were racing through her head. Seeing this, the woman exasperatedly turned to Bau-kun. "If she can't get a word out, maybe you can take over the talking?" This, however, did not help even the slightest. On the contrary, now even Bau-kun was at a loss for words. Eventually, the woman broke the awkward silence with a heavy sigh. Fine. I'll give you two a pass, since it's obviously your first time dealing with a magician. Surely you can tell me your names at least? With a hoarse voice, Fuyumi replied, I'm Fuyumi, and this is Bau-kun. Fuyumi, huh? A pretty name, but too long. I'll call you Yumi, and you're Bao. Too confused to object, the two of them remained silent, so the woman continued. So, let me guess. You're here because of that pretty necklace of yours? Unsure of what to do, Bau-kun froze up, but Fuyumi managed to slowly nod. Yes, I transformed into a human, but lost all my feathers. And I think the necklace now doesn't work anymore because of that. What are you telling her? Exclaimed her brother, wings flapping rapidly. We don't even know if we can trust her. You're a cautious one, Bao, hey. But don't worry, if I wanted to, I could have easily snapped both of your necks the moment you set foot in my shop. Actually, you're quite lucky to have come to me. Other magicians won't be half as nice as me. But still, two magical kingfishers. Who would have thought that I'd be getting such unusual customers out of the blue? And one of you seems to have some affinity for sensing magic as well, considering you were able to ignore the barrier I put up to keep normal people away. While rambling out a flood of information, the woman paused, only to bite down on a chocolate bar that at some point had appeared in her hand. You can understand what I'm saying? Uttered Bau-kun flabbergasted. Oh yeah, I do. Bet you're glad that you didn't say anything not meant for my ears, huh? Not that it matters, since there's hardly a thing you two could hide from me. So, does that mean you'll help us? Asked Fuyumi hesitantly. Sure, I'm always happy about new customers. However, I expect to be paid for my services. Hearing this, Fuyumi's shoulders slumped. I'm sorry, but I'm afraid that we don't have anything to offer. Don't worry about that, Yumi dear. When the time comes, you'll have something to repay me with. But for starters, the witch got up and disappeared through the door she had come from. Before Bau-kun could even start reprimanding his sister, she popped out again. In her hands, a beautiful feather of azure and amber. This is my feather! Fuyumi couldn't believe her eyes. Indeed, it is. Here. This one's on the house, replied the woman and handed her the colorful feather. Tons of questions popped up in Bau-kun's head. Wait, you're just giving it over for free? What's the catch? And do you have more of them? I told you, didn't I? This one's on the house. Consider it something like a special for new customers. You'll get your first service free of charge. Unfortunately, I don't have any more feathers though, so you still have to find the rest. Suspiciously eyeing the witch, Bau-kun could not wrap his head around what was happening. Was this lady to be trusted? How did she get a feather in the first place? Thank you very much. Would you happen to know where the rest of my feathers are? Asked Fuyumi. Nope. Pretty sure they're all over the world. I was lucky to have even caught one of them before it too got blown further away. Still suspicious of her, Bau-kun inquired. Is that so? Then what business do we have with you if you don't have any other feathers? The witch smirked. Oh, you will come here again, even if you don't know yet. That sounds ominous. But first, what do I do with the feather now? Asked Fuyumi, while playing around with the feather in her hands. Trust your feelings and let them guide you. You'll know what to do if you open your mind and just let it happen. Fuyumi intently stared at the feather in front of her, but nothing would happen. Innerly panicking, she even started to toss it into the air, but that didn't seem to work either. When she eventually let out a sigh of exasperation, the witch sternly commented, "Don't get too worked up, Yumi. Take a deep breath." Hearing the witch's words, Fuyumi closed her eyes and calmed herself down, searching for some intuition to overtake her. Soon enough, her body grew hot, and when she opened her eyes, the feather that had been in her hand started to float towards her necklace while shining a brilliant white light until it eventually disappeared into the necklace, as if absorbed. "That's amazing! Did you do that, Fu?" Even Bau-kun could barely contain the excitement he felt now. I don't know, but I think so." "Good! You're learning to channel the necklace's power," smiled the witch. "If you keep this up, you'll eventually learn to properly use it." "Thank you. But how am I supposed to find the other feathers? I don't even know where to start looking or how many there..." Raising a finger, the witch interrupted Fuyumi mid-sentence and threw a glance at the door behind her. When she turned back to the two of them, she exclaimed, "You'll get there. Just remember that your feathers are all over the world, so you need to think of ways to reach the whole world. Now, if you'll excuse me..." "Wait, but..." Before Fuyumi could protest further, the witch disappeared through the door again. Only this time, the door disappeared as well after being shut, leaving the room in the same state as it was in when the pair had first entered. Unsure of what to do, Fuyumi and Bau-kun carefully examined the whole room. However, with no sign of the witch returning, they eventually gave up and decided to leave the shop. While stepping over the threshold of the shop to the outside took merely a moment, it felt like crossing the boundary of one world to another, with all kinds of noises and other signs of life suddenly setting in. When Fuyumi turned around, the shop she had been in just seconds ago was nowhere to be found. It disappeared. The whole shop is gone. Am I dreaming? Was any of that real? You saw it too, right, Bau-kun? Reassuring his sister, he replied, "Don't worry. You're not going crazy. I guess it's just magic stuff. I didn't know this world had witches and the likes. But, oh well, it is what it is. For now, let's go home." After their return, both Fuyumi and Bau-kun spent the evening in silence, each mulling over what had happened at the magic shop earlier. When Saka, the girl whose house the two of them were staying in, eventually came home, she found the siblings lying on the couch in the living room, making sounds while deep in thought. Though Bau-kun's sounds were simply bird noises to her. "What's up with the long faces? Did something happen?" "Ah, Saka! Welcome home! You see..." With that, Fuyumi began to explain what had transpired earlier that day. When she finally finished, she began to sink into deep thoughts again. "I wonder how we're supposed to reach out to the whole world. It's just so big. I don't think I'll ever be able to find all the feathers by myself." By yourself? Maybe you just need more people to help you out. And I might just have the right idea for that. Have you ever heard of streaming? Asked Saka. But upon seeing Fuyumi's questioning face, she continued. Silly me. Of course you haven't. Follow me. Let me show you what I mean. With these words, their kind-hearted host guided them towards the study room, which contained a strange device humans refer to as computer.